so many connections in the song that we can make. Nothing to do with each other. That's some neat things when we listen to a song and think, I didn't make those connections. Get those ideas. Patience, would you start us off? What's one thing that you wrote down? Take me to like the line or the session that you were thinking of. What's something that you connected?
I said like the first line, like it occurred to me today. I said that kind of like related to Maury when he found out he was.
All right. So that sense that there is an occurrence that happens, like all of a sudden it's something he hadn't really thought of before, but it occurs to him on a very specific day. That day might have been when Maury is diagnosed. With ALS. It was a big, shocking kind of day, right? Something that changed his way of thinking. In our song, this person just had kind of an epiphany, a realization. Maury has that when he's diagnosed. Lexi, what's something you wrote down?
When he said just how much he lost along the way, I just thought about how Maury said, once you learn to die, you learn to live.
All right. Nice. So what kind of things do you think he got lost as he was thinking about that?
Like himself.
All right. Once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. His ALS is taking lots of his abilities. So far we've really focused a lot on what Maury is thinking. Yeah, Ava's got an idea. Yeah.
So for me, I read that as Mitch, like in Wimbledon, realizing that, like, oh my goodness, his job means nothing. Like, I could be doing so much more with my time and my life.
All right. So I'm going to switch colors because I'm thinking about this now. You're looking in terms of Mitch and things like that, right? Mitch has this reality check that his job means very little. I don't want to say it means nothing, but it should be less important. And you said that he's missing out on other things in his life. What kind of things was he missing out on?
Family, love. Things that, like, Maury tries to teach him that are important rather than just materialistic things.
There's even that kind of stuff too, right? That he loses his connection to Maury. This is his professor from college that he loved. He lost that connection. He left missing out on family. He's missing out on love. All these things that Maury's telling him, that stuff doesn't matter. Leave it alone. Let it go. Athen, you had a hand up too. Something else you want to add?
Well, she took one of mine, but I was kind of thinking just skip down a bit because
Sure.
I was having a hard time connecting.
Yeah.
In the third, I guess you would call it like verse.
Yeah.
Where it says another chip broke out of me just a little bit further from what I used to be. That reminds me of Maury when he's kind of talking about all the things that he used to love to do, like dancing and stuff like that.
All right.
But the fact that it says but what's it for after all? Just because don't you know the higher you get just means the further you fall. That means like it's kind of explaining to me like Maury still finds the good in life.
All right.
I wrote that same thing down.
Did you wrote the same thing right here with this kind of this set? That you can still find the good no matter where you are? And Ava says she wrote that same thing down, right? The higher you get means the further you could fall. Dylan, what else would we be adding?
Well, I interpreted like the higher you get, the more you can fall as like Mitch, like the higher he was getting up in his ranks to be a journalist. I thought you could lose more, like because you're you're gaining in a certain area, but then you're also losing something. Like you're losing family, you're losing your connection to Maury. There's another thing about missing something. I don't know where. I think there's a word like missing stuff. Like he missed all of like going through the world like with someone he cared so much about, reconnecting with him.
All right. We were talking about this part up here about what I should have kept and I wish it wasn't gone, that part. This idea, so you see this as Mitch thinking about what he should have held on to, right? That idea about piano lessons, how much he enjoyed playing piano, and he let that go for so long. How much he meant to Maury, he let that go for so long. Mitch thinking about the things that things he should have kept. That's all right. What is that? Piano, music means a lot to him. Maury, all these things that he should have held on to. Hey, something else.
So for the entire last verse, I wrote down that like Maury growing older and teaching Mitch about life while Maury himself is learning about life is like a really big connection there. Because like how it says, I was drifting out from empathy when I finally figured out what was always here in me. Like it kind of links to the quote, once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. But also it like connects to how while Maury may be like the huge teacher here, I think Maury is also learning a lot about himself as he's teaching.
Maury is very much a student and a teacher at the same time in this session. You're right about that. Very much so, right? He's got all of it. He stays that teacher. It's always been in him. And I like that you made that connection to it. What was always here in me. Maury has always been a teacher. He loves sharing his knowledge. And he loves doing it through touch and conversation and one-on-one. And at the same time, he's also finding some deeper things inside him. He could very easily fall into a depression, isolate himself. And instead, he takes the same thing that he has always been and he just makes it better. He keeps learning from it. Lexi.
For some reason, this endless sea reminds me of the story Maury was telling about the wave getting recycled.
Great connection. That endless sea, we have Maury's connection definitely to the wave that he's talking about. That wave that's like, oh my gosh, we're about to crash, we're going to die, this is the end of it, and it's all of it. And another wave's like, it's okay, man. You're going to crash and you're going to re-become part of the sea. And it's going to happen again and again. Don't fear it. It's just part of who we are. It's part of what we have to do. Nice connection. I love the story of the wave. I love that story. Oh gosh. So reassuring that this happens again and again, multiple times every day. Anthony.
The last verse, I don't know what you really call it, but that could really connect to Mitch when he was, just going through life like as the reporter, making all the stories and all that, and following what everyone else does. And then, when he sees Maury on television and all that, and then he's in Wimbledon, and he really just thinks about him a lot and realizes that even though that they haven't really connected for so long, he still really cares about him.
All right. So that endless sea of reporters that he's kind of amidst, and he's kind of stuck in there. But then that sense that figuring out that Maury has always been a part of me and I need to reconnect to that part of me that's there. The way he kept thinking about him so much. So that endless sea of reporters and that always here, that idea that Maury is his always here in me kind of part. Oh, man, I'm going to run out of room pretty quickly here. Got some great connections happening. Miranda, is there something else that you wrote down that you can help us connect? a whole bunch of, now we're like adding to it, so you had the stuff that you wrote, and now the stuff that we're adding on top of that. How about you, Mian? Is there anything else that you wrote down? Another connection that you made? No, same kind of stuff. When we're talking about this, kind of the chorus that they've said a couple times. If it's part of that chorus, that definitely has to be part of our overall message for that whole song. I think you guys have pretty much all the stuff I was thinking of too. So if we have the main message happening here in the chorus, the part that's repeated, what is our ultimate, what should we take? Question number 1 at the bottom says, what is the ultimate message? What are they trying to tell us? What's their main argument here? Should we just give up and walk away?
No.
What should we do? What's our message? Hey, what are you thinking?
Basically, it says that like despite the higher you get, like the further you fall, you should keep climbing just to see how far up you can get.
All right.
Like it's worth the risk.
Is there anything else we should add to that? Is there anything that should stop us from climbing too high? Dylan.
I feel like it's also about being humble. No matter how high you get, because you're obviously in some situations going to be higher than others. It says they go so high. You still need to remember that. I think it's the higher you go, the more you can lose and be humble and fall.
All right.
The higher you are in society, the more people are going to have their eyes on you.
So much.
The more you can lose.
So Dylan just said something pretty key here, this idea that the higher you are on this ladder, the more people have their eyes on you, and the more you can lose. We've had, 370,000 people in our country die from COVID. But you could probably name a couple of the famous people who have died from COVID. Right? There's probably a few key names that you're like, wow, that person. Wow, that person. Wow, that person. Wow. Some of the stuff that we have, we only care about because it happens to famous people. We talked in my math class, I think, about, oh no, we were talking here about buying your way into college, right? There were like 100 people that got caught in this college scandal out in California who were buying their way into colleges. They were faking photographs of team pictures, faking records of how they were doing on swim teams and soccer champions and lacrosse teams and whatever. For people who had never played lacrosse, who had never been on a swim team. But the only people that we care about of those 100 people that went to jail for it is Becky from Full House. I don't even know her name. Lori something. Yeah. She went to jail for it.
Her daughter.
Because they had done this for her daughter. I can't tell you any of the other 99 people, but because she's famous, because she's climbed so high on the ladder, because we know her, everyone has looked up to her, all of a sudden she has crashed pretty hard down. She lost a whole bunch of movie deals and commercials and stuff like that. So she had farther to fall. She risked a lot and she fell hard. And they're saying this idea that it's okay if you don't go higher. It's okay if you aren't constantly like going for the top. Be humble. Be happy with where you are. It's okay to keep on striving for more. We always want more, but that's the problem. We always want more. Even if we get another rung on the ladder, there's another one above us. There's only one person who could be at the top. And it's not Jeff Bezos anymore. Who is it?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. He's at the top, right? There's only one top rung on that ladder.
I love how we're talking about like being anti-materialistic and being with someone that's a billionaire.
We can immediately say who that is.
Wait, isn't he a trillionaire now?
Do you know how many steps are between us and Elon Musk?
No, too many.
That's a huge hill. There's too many.
Are we
I
closer
think
to
it's
being
about
a
like
millionaire than he is?
176 billion.
It's exhausting. I don't want to think about the 176 billion that I need to make to be anywhere near him.
133.
By the time I get up
Oh, that's
133,
it? Oh, I thought it was.
piece of cake,
I
right?
mean, by the end of the night, I'll be high.
Done.
Remember when he made flamethrowers?
Yeah,
That was the
fun.
thing. That was the thing. He just like casually sold flamethrowers, and they weren't even that expensive. They were like $300, $400, $500. Like you'd think they'd be like 10
Not
grand.
even that expensive.
He
Huh.
Well, I mean, for a flamethrower, think about it.
I know, I would think that would be like thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
right?
You'd think
Only,
it'd be like 10 grand.
only for the military to think if I can go on Jeff Bezos' website and be like,
Oh my gosh, there's this thing where you can like
Whatever.
spend Jeff Bezos' money and like it's like a website where exactly no like no it's for
legit.
real, like you can like add things to your cart and it has things like from like tanks to like
Airplanes.
ending world hunger, eating plastic out. They can afford it. They could end hunger 20 times and still have millions of dollars. They just choose not to.
yeah. It's
Well-
this idea that once we
No, it's
have
not
that stuff,
corrupted at all.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
But you have to think of the fact that too, that like Elon Musk has.
Yeah, no, you
100
can't justify it. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, he has 133 billion dollars, but like 100 of that is
Oh, I
all
forgot, all
a
the
company
taxes.
that he would have to get rid of.
That's true.
I mean,
A lot of it's just on paper.
yeah.
A lot of it isn't real tangible.
Well-
You can't be like, go to the bank and take it. We have to dissolve a company or sell it to someone else. And then he doesn't have any chance of ever making more. There's the end of it, right? I know. I'd have to set a budget of $10,000 a day. Oh my god. But this is our thing, that once we have one thing, we want something more, right? Once I have my Subaru, I'm like, you know, my Subaru, my Subi. Now that I have my little Subi, I'm like, you know what? I'd really like a newer one. They have a new Crosstrek, and I'm like, that's pretty sweet looking, right?
Yeah.
I love Subarus.
Once you've
They're
got
so safe.
the FJ, you want the Hummer.
They're so safe. They are. The Subarus are really safe.
Once
Those are
you,
Volvos.
I know, they're
I
super,
love Volvos.
pretty awesome. Once you've got the entree for your meal, you want the appetizer. You want the dessert to go with it.
Dessert comes first.
Dessert comes first. There's always more to get. There's always more to want. And this song is really just telling us, stop. Be happy with what you have and have what makes you happy. And once you have that, stop. The million steps that are between me and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, it's too exhausting for me to even think about.
That'd be funny. They could both technically afford to go into like warfare.
They could. They did. Start their own country, right? Outfit an entire military.
No thanks.
So this totally ties in very much with our book. Everything that Maury has been saying, everything Mitch has been learning and discovering, right here in this song. This stuff doesn't matter. So much of the stuff that we've gotten rid of or pushed away because we think it matters is what we've lost and what we should have kept. The stuff that you should have kept. I wish I had my baby blanket. When I was in high school, I cleaned my room one day. I'm like, oh, I'm so done with this thing. I don't need it. I know. He was like, no. Right? 3 years later, my grandma, who made me my baby blanket, passed away. I want that baby blanket because it's my connection to her.
See, for me, that'd give me a hoarding problem.
And this is our challenge. What do we keep? What do we really love? Are you going to keep everything? You're going to pick that one thing that reminds you of that really special person. And you keep that. My mother-in-law has this challenge. Her parents died when she was in her 20s, I guess, a young mom. She kept everything. everything from them. And she won't get rid of it. So she's got 2 ironing boards, 2 irons, 57 coffee mugs, 7 bread pans. She doesn't need this much stuff, but when we put it all out there, put it on the table, I'm like, Mom, you have 7 bread pans. You need 2. I'm like, pick 2. And she's like, well, this is my favorite one. It bakes the best bread. But this one used to be my mom's, and I want to hang on to this one. This one was my grandmother's, so I want to hang on to that one. This one makes tiny loaves of bread. Sometimes it's useful to have smaller loaves. She's like, I need them all. And I'm like, really? Do you need 3 irons? Does ironing with your mom's iron bring you joy? And she's like, well, I just keep it because it's hers. I'm like, no, because you already have the bread pan that was hers, and the coffee mug that was hers. So what we started doing is we started photographing these wonderful, we hired a photographer to just photograph these objects in very sweet ways. And we're making a whole scrapbook collection for her that'll fit in a book instead of having all this stuff.
Wouldn't she be happier if like she gave it to people that needed it more?
That's what we're hoping that she'll do. I'm hoping that she'll save something and pick something out that's really important, and that she'll save it and give it to my daughter, so that my daughter has her great-grandmother's bread pan. Right? Not everything. I don't want my daughter to have everything. But at some point, my daughter's going to need to furnish an apartment and a kitchen, so she'll need it at some point. Alrighty. I want to capture this thinking, so I think I've got it captured. Flip with me to the back side, please. Right on the back side is our Ethos, Pathos, Logos triangle, and we want to think about how we could fill in this triangle in connection to our Tuesdays with morning. So our author's message, you guys told me it was to have goals, but to be happy with your progress towards those goals. Wherever you are on the ladder, be happy with your position. So have goals, right? Don't just drop off the ladder. You didn't say let go. Have a ladder that you have goals for, that you're reaching towards. Have goals, but be happy where you are with what you have. Is there a line of all these connections that we made on the front and all of these images that they give for us that we could start to fill in something that either gives us credibility of our author, or does he refer to any experts? Do we have any logic, data, statistics? Do we have any comparisons that are going on? Or do we have some emotions, some language, some imagery that's happening that makes us feel something? Yeah, Ava, take us off. What do you see?
Starts well, the seconders, facing that they compare a ladder to like goals and like life and stuff.
All right. So comparing that ladder to life goals, where would you put that? Is that an expertise, a logos, a pathos thing?
I'll put that on pathos.
Pathos. All right. Let's put that here. I think that goes with some of that vivid language going on. If we're making something like that, we have a pathos, kind of an emotion about this ladder. This ladder image is an emotion kind of thing. What emotion is tied with the ladder and getting one more rung? What emotion could we put with that? I think I heard someone say an idea. What emotion would we put with this? Breathe. So this latter image is giving us the emotion of greed. Tanner.
They talk about the stuff they lost.
Yes.
And so being sad.
All right, nice. We have another kind of pathos, another emotion that you're telling me about, this idea that there's sadness at what is lost. We have this feeling of what's going on, and he talks about everything that gets lost along the way. Really, our first couple lines, and I'm going to reference lines 1 through 3, so there's my citation going on here. Lines 1 through 3 is really all about sadness and regret. There's that feeling of this. Sadness and regret. Man, could we connect this with Maury? Ava, what else should we be adding?
How they say like I was drifting out from an LC.
All right. I assume we're going to put that here in pathos.
I keep looking for ethos and logos.
I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm going to say that that's probably what it is. All right, so this, I like that we're using right for the quotes now. See how we can start pulling in specific quotes. Drifting out upon an endless sea. We can quote it, we can cite it. That's line 14. What kind of emotion are we pulling from that?
Kind of loss and regret.
Alright. We have an emotion here of feeling lost, alone.
Losing track of yourself.
Alright, losing track of yourself. Tanner.
It talks about what he used to be when the relationship broke off, and I thought that might have been an ethos, and like he used to be, he's an expert on what he has been, what he is.
Alright. We've got some ethos going on. That idea where he's talking about what he's lost, what I've lost along the way. That I is making him an expert. He's been through it. He has stopped and he has thought about it. It occurred to me today how much I've lost along the way. I've done this. I'm starting to think it just doesn't matter. It'd be all the same to me if I got one more rung on the ladder. He's not saying it'd be all the same to my parents, it'd be all the same to my wife, it'd be all the same to my kids. Everything about this whole poem is in first person. First person automatically means that you're claiming to be an expert, you've been through it. Athen, did you have something you were going to add too?
Oh, no, I was just thinking about this.
Okay. Ava.
The higher you get, just makes it further fall. Logos.
Logos. It's a logical sense. The higher you get, the further you can fall. That's a logical argument. If you play it safe and you only aim for the bottom rung on the ladder, you don't have anything to lose. You're not taking any big risk. Higher you get, further you can fall. Big risk. Ava, another one.
I finally figured out what was always here in me, kind of like ethos.
Okay. Why would that be a ethos one? I agree with you. I want to hear your reason why.
Because you're an expert on yourself and you're finding out who you are.
All right.
And it's a first person thing.
So if I put something like he has discovered himself or rediscovered himself. Nobody else is telling him what to do. No one else is telling him to make this decision, to make this change in his life. He's doing it for himself. He dug deep. He found what's important. Now he's trying to save us from making the same mistakes that he has made. There's some logic. There's a little logos there. He's trying to save the reader or the listener in the song from the same mistakes. The whole fact that Maury is teaching Mitch so much and going on Nightline and picking up the phone anytime anybody calls and reading everybody's email, he wants to save other people from the same mistakes. If you were to tell me about like the tone of the song, the overall tone, did this song sound, when you listened to it when it first started, did you feel like it was like upbeat? Was it really slow and melancholy? Was it super fast? Was it peppy? Did it make you want to get up and dance? Did it make you want to sit and think? What was the tone?
It looks sad.
Okay, slow, kind of sad.
The picture looks sad.
The picture looks sad. So the cover of the album, because that's just the album cover of that album.
You're talking about the song?
Yeah.
It had rose on it. Rose is really sad. Especially when they hang down, and that one was droopy.
What it actually is because they're Irish, the Irish flower is the thistle, an Irish thistle.
Any droopy flowers.
Kind of a droopy flower. Well, the Irish thistle is pretty interesting because it's covered with a whole bunch of spiky spikes.
Spiky spikes.
Oh.
My grandma grows those. I love them.
Yeah. They grow very nicely here in Michigan.
They do.
And the purple's like
I thought
Parts
it
of
was
it.
a cactus.
up on top. No, it's a thistle. And so all these things are little spikies, and the purple part only comes out just for maybe like a month or so out of the year.
If you like down in the right corner there, when they're like that, they're sharp.
They are. They are
Like,
wicked
well,
sharp.
It's like I pick them for my bouquets, and like sometimes I like touch the ball, like it does. It looks like it looks like one of those dandelions that you, like blow and make a wish.
Yeah,
It's not.
it's not.
It's not, and they're actually really hard to pick. The stems are really thick.
Yes. And that's actually part of the whole little history lesson going on here, right? Because they're even still spiky here, but they're spikiest at this point, and because their stems are so hard to pick, you have to really like cut them, kind of thing. It became the Irish flower, the official Irish flower, because there was a group of British soldiers who were trying to sneak up on the Irish to attack them. One guy accidentally tripped and kneeled on one of these things, hard pressure right with his knee, and he cried out in pain, and he alerted the Irish that the British army was coming.
The British are.
And then the Irish were like, hey, they're over there, because that guy just yelled.
I hear it maybe.
These British really aren't good at being sneaky.
Not so great. You know, they're wearing bright red coats. Hello? Easiest color to see, not most common in
They
nature.
walk in lines.
I don't know, they walk in line. They put a big white X on their chest. Hey, shoot here. Who would I do? What's this? Oh my gosh. Sorry. Way off topic. But still. All right. So when we think about kind of the tone, it does seem kind of, I don't know, there's kind of a sadness to it. There's kind of a cadence to it. It keeps you moving, but there's a kind of a reflection to it, kind of a thought process kind of going on. And so we have that kind of emotion. I'm going to add that one last thing here to our pathos, to our emotion of what we have, is that tone of the song. Tone is also present in writing, right? You can have a playful tone, things can rhyme, things can kind of be bouncy, things can be fast-paced, they can be action-packed, they can be really slow, they can be detailed. Our tone of our song is a little bit sad, lots of reflection. There's kind of a slowness to it. It still has a beat to it, and you're like, yeah, I'm starting to think this kind of thing. But it's like every line is said, and then there's this nice pause. It occurred to me today just how much got lost along the way. You're like, oh, there's these gaps in there for you to think too, for you to think along with him. That kind of slowness leads us to be also thinking ourselves. If a song is one line after the next, you don't have time to stop and connect to it, to think about yourself and how you fit. All right. Rating out of 10. This is part of your project. Remember to do this part too. Remember, they don't have to add up to 10. But if you were to think about how much of this poem leans on ethos, we found a couple of pieces of evidence. It carries throughout the entire thing. But we definitely must say it looks like our heaviest number for our pathos. Look at all the stuff we've got going on there. Evie, what number would you assign to your ethos section?
I think 6.
Put a 6?
Yeah.
All right. Dylan, what number did you give it?
For what?
For the ethos?
I said 7.
7? Isaac?
I said 5.
5? All right.
6 is the letter.
We might want to bring it down a little bit closer to like a 5, I would think. Right? Probably something about there. We have a couple things. It does go all the way through. It's pretty solid. We want to save our super high number, higher than 10, or higher than 5, to be in our pathos. If we're seeing this much stuff, you guys are giving me imagery. You're giving me the ladder thing that carries through the entire metaphor, the sadness of what's lost, the entire tone of it. We're looking here at probably like a 9 going on. There is so much pathos. And our logos, probably a 2. Is that what you're thinking? Mia, what was you thinking?
I thought like,
You said a 6?
yeah, I thought although there wasn't a lot of information on it, the information on it was pretty solid.
Okay, pretty solid. So you're going for like how important, how
Yeah,
impactful.
I go for the content, not the.
All right, content, not the number. You're going not numerical, we're looking for value. All right. So you said how much?
I said 6.
A 6? A 5?
4.
4? Nice. Okay, so wherever you are, put it on in there. If you feel like these are like some super solid connections, I can see this also kind of being somewhere around about a 5, about even with our ethos, our expertise going on there. And we definitely want to put a huge bunch of weight there on the pathos side. So much emotion. I'm hopeful that these examples are helpful for you as you're reading through to pick out things from Maury and put them in categories just like this. If Maury's talking about a story he remembers from his past, he's making that personal connection. He's an expert. He's been through it. If we're looking for some of that logic kind of stuff, he's like, I don't have time to mess around. Logically, I need to do as much as I can as fast as I can. And pathos, all those things of emotion, that idea of forgiveness. Forgive yourself and forgive others. Huge, huge example that he has. All right, let's take a 5-minute break right now, and then when we come back, we will watch more of our Nightline interview, and that'll take us to our end of our day. 12:34 meeting. We'll start back at 12:40 together. 12:40.
a while. So